Hello friends, hope this finds you well. My name's Phoebe, and if you're new here, I'm on a music discovery journey. Now, where do I start? I'm basically exploring music that I haven't heard for whatever reason over the last decades, honestly. There are bands that I've heard of that I haven't quite heard all of their stuff or any of their stuff. There are bands that I've never heard of that I'm delving into. It's new, it's old, it's everything in between. And I'm quite excited to be sharing that with you. Now, we're going down a Ren rabbit hole. Ren is a really talented artist and has impressed me, intrigued me with his creativity and intelligence and way with words and the way he articulates things. It's really, really cool to me. I understand that he's done a number of chapters about his life, and I'm on chapter 2. So if anyone wants to join me for this, I've just watched chapter 1. In fact, I watched it a few hours ago, and it was quite heavy, but it was really good. Really, I really welcomed that emotion. I have been dealing with some grief. Been dealing with a lot of grief over the years. Grief is something that doesn't ever go away. It might morph the way you feel about certain things or certain people. And I really liked chapter 1. I loved the song for Joe. It was heavy, and I needed a bit of time to just recuperate. And some people say just come away and don't get back to it too soon. I've watched a lot of happy videos and some Electric Cool Boy, so it's put me in a nicer, lighter mood for now, and I feel like I want to do another one. My makeup's not the greatest now anyway, and I didn't really fancy sorting it out as I'm approaching the end of the day, so I have rubbed my eyes a bit, and it isn't perfect, and some of my makeup is gone from underneath my eyes, although the camera is quite forgiving. I just thought it'd be a great opportunity to do another one if it is heavy. I might stop and start throughout, but join me on this journey of chapter 2. I hope it works.
A year of living in a nightmarish purgatory does strange things to your psyche. I was still trying to push through university, but I found myself missing many lectures to stay in bed. I started noticing more unusual symptoms creeping in, a strange buzzing sensation in the soles of my feet. My vision started looking like fuzzy television static, something that I later learned was called visual snow, something with no known origin. My calf muscles started constantly twitching and spasming. At any moment they wouldn't go longer than 20 seconds without twitching, and that can drive you a bit nuts. All these symptoms I still live with to this day. You just become very used to tolerating constant discomfort. It becomes kind of the norm, and kind of becomes like an annoying, unsettling radio static in the background of existence. I stopped taking my antidepressants after having cycled many different kinds. None of them helped. All of them gave me some new kind of symptom or side effect, like insomnia, dry mouth, heart palpitations, no libido, etc. I spent a lot of my time...
I just watched that movie. Literally just watched that movie a few weeks ago. And now I can't remember the name of it, but I'm sure someone might be able to help in the comments. Just kind of noting what he said about antidepressants. So a lot of medication can just leave you with more problems or new problems on top of the problems you already had, and it's a difficult one. It's a difficult one for a lot of people that are struggling or dependent on certain things, or feel like they need to depend on certain things if they haven't got any other options, or it creates a problem, but maybe it's a lesser problem. It's like that best of a bad bunch sort of thing, but also some are just not not worth it, or can be wrongly prescribed. Anyway.
Heart palpitations, no libido, etc. I spent a lot of my time alone, but in the moments of respite I'd hang out with friends. We formed a band called Trick the Fox the year before I'd gotten sick. It was the one ray of sunshine I had at the time. I quickly became friends with a bass player called Charlie, and we developed some kind of musical telepathy where we both knew what the other was going to play before it even happened.
Nice.
It was the first musician I've ever felt this kind of chemistry with. I became a kind of third wheel in his Momoko's relationship. With time, Momoko became like a sister to me. To this day, it's one of my favourite people on this spinning rock. Performing with Trick the Fox was one of the rare times that I felt free. There was something about the duty of having to entertain others that let me escape the physical limitations of my own sick body, even if just for a moment. I usually pay for it the next day with what can only be described as an energy hangover where I'd be stuck in bed all day, but for me that was worth it. Those days I was still fairly functional. It was around this time I started losing faith in the medical industry. The more appointments I'd go to, adamant that something was wrong, the more of a hypochondriac they treat me as. Medical gaslighting is a real thing with chronic illness. They chalk me down as someone who was always requesting blood tests, and my mental health diagnosis probably didn't help that.
Gaslighting. Again, I'm not sorry to interrupt. I want to touch on these things while they're fresh in my head. I pushed for an ADHD diagnosis with my doctor, with my GP, for years before I decided enough was enough and I went private. Stupidly couldn't afford it, but at that point I was just screaming for some help. I went private. Also didn't get a lot of help when the NHS were down to shared care. Basically, it was a nightmare. I ended up paying loads of money, and then I ended up still needing to get a second diagnosis. That was the process of me asking was probably back in 2017, and I decided in 2022 that I would go private. I was already on the NHS waiting list for ADHD after finally convincing my GP that I should go on it. But for so many years they would prescribe me antidepressants and kind of redirect my diagnosis. Like, I would go and say, I have ADHD. I know I have it. These are the things, and they would kind of just go, are you feeling sad? You must be depressed. This will help. We can't do anything without a diagnosis. But I'm like, well, that's what I need then. That's the logical step, you would think. But they would do anything and everything to kind of steer me away from a diagnosis, which I found was really odd. And then more recently, it's more mainstream. People talk about it more, so of course more people are going to find out that maybe that's something that they can relate to too. But more recently, it's become this kind of trend, and it's kind of like, oh, it's not really real, when it is. And anyway, I'm rambling in all different areas, but it took me so long to convince my GP to get me on the waiting list, and I wouldn't be on the waiting list if I hadn't fought for that over a number of years. And I would go and they would tell me something and I'd be like, oh okay. And for many times I would go and they would convince me otherwise, basically. I also found out later that that's part of my autism, which is also very difficult, is that in a situation like that where I'm with a doctor and they tell me otherwise, I'm like, oh well, okay, yes, but later on I'm told, no, you should have pushed for it, you should have said, no, this is what I need, and I that's the only way. But my brain, it struggles to be like, it did struggle to be forceful in those situations, and I've had to try and be aware of it. It's not necessarily a thing that I can stop, but it's something that I can maybe ask for help or reflect on and go back. But it's very hard in the moment to convince or force what I want the help with as the narrative, if that makes any sense. Anyway, I'm rambling so much.
Strangely, they never tested me for any kind of pathogens. I decided to embark on a precarious journey into the Russian roulette chamber of Dr. Google. I would type in the most predominant symptom of the day, and Dr. Google would tell me that I have a rare disease and I'm probably going to die. With time, I sharpened my search engine axe and refined what I was looking for. I dived headfirst into the abyss of online support groups, hoping to find solace or answers amongst fellow sufferers. We were like crabs in a barrel. Very rarely someone would find their silver bullet and announce what it was that cured them. Hundreds of people would follow their protocol, some with mild success, but most of us will still remain trapped. I joined as many online support groups as I could. It was a bit like the beginning of Fight Club, except instead of faking conditions to feel accepted, I was desperately hoping I had those conditions so I could cure myself and get the fuck out. I convinced myself I had conditions like candida, magnesium deficiency, parasites, adrenal fatigue, heavy metal poisoning, etc. At the time, I felt like I was single-handedly keeping Jeff Bezos in business. While most students were spending their student loan on drinks, I'd spend mine on the supplement or protocol of the week. I'd follow whatever herbal or supplement protocol was suggested, sometimes noticing mild improvement and sometimes getting a lot worse, most of the time feeling nothing. A story would pop up on one of these groups like, after I did a 30-day parasite cleanse of wormwood, cloves and garlic, all my symptoms disappeared. I'd read a story like this, get full of hope and put myself through a grueling 30 days, which would often result in a worsening of symptoms.
That's horrible. I don't know if you've heard of, oh god, I've forgotten it now, but the woman that led people to believe there was a cure for cancer or something. There was a series on it quite recently. We're in 2025. It might have been 2024 or 2025. I want to say something like orange, lemon. No, I can't remember, but it was like a natural herbal something. Anyway, it turned out to be a fraudulent thing, and it's sad that it fills so many people with hope, and it just awful.
And put myself through a grueling 30 days, which would often result in a worsening of symptoms. My body felt even sicker and weaker, but I'd stick it out because I was told that this was a good sign. The parasites are dying. I peered into the toilet bowl and valiantly waved goodbye as I flushed their imaginary corpses into a watery abyss. At the end of the 30 days, I'd be left with a lighter wallet and all my symptoms still remaining. And if that didn't work, I'd move on to what was next. Maybe I have seasonal affective disorder. Alright, so I'd get on the internet, order a light, stare at it for 10 minutes a day, and to my big fucking surprise, still have all my symptoms. The only thing that light illuminated for me was that I was desperate enough to buy a glorified table lamp. I kid you not when I say that over the years I probably have taken nearly every dietary health supplement known to man. One of the most grueling self-treatment courses came when I did a round-the-clock heavy metal chelation. I would take a supplement called ALA and DMSA, which supposedly shuttle mercury molecules out of your body through a process called chelation. I would have to take the pill once every 3 hours around the clock, which meant setting multiple alarm clocks to wake up and take them. The supplements came with their own side effects. I remember one time standing in a supermarket and feeling like the sounds and lights were so bright that I couldn't even bear to be in there. I stuck with this protocol for a whole year with no luck. I was still coming to terms with the death of one of my best friends during this time too.
Hang on, a whole year. That's the other thing. Like you stick with them in hopes that things will change. And sure, there might be things that really help. But how do you know they work for you? You have to try them, right? And you sometimes have to risk that with nothing else other than someone else's word for it. There's a lot of power behind solutions that come in numbers. like loads of people say, oh, this is great, and genuinely people that you can believe perhaps, but they are very few and far in between. And in this world, sorry, my alarm just went off, in this world of like misinformation and lots of fake selling, adverts, influencing, it's all too commonly misrepresented. I feel really passionately about that, because part of the stuff that I've done for Twitch in the past, there are companies that will approach you left, right and centre if you're doing a little bit okay or whatever, or there might be companies that approach you and it's too good to be true, and usually there are a lot of companies that want you to try something that's just absolutely not your brand or your personality, or completely not what you would try naturally. And I stand by that all the time. I'm not gonna try and sell something that I've not genuinely tried myself. So yeah, it's reminding me of that. Let me just go back a bit, because he's talking about Joe, and anyway, but he was trying it for a whole year. It's time is so precious. It's so very precious that wasting it while getting sick or staying sick or getting worse, it's just, we don't have that time. We don't want to waste it. So that is incredibly frustrating.
With this protocol for a whole year with no luck. I was still coming to terms with the death of one of my best friends during this time too. I was too sick to hold down any kind of stable job, so I was mostly living off my student loan. Welsh students study in England also weirdly get given a small sum of money just for being Welsh, or almost like a "we're really sorry that you're Welsh" sort of condolence prize. I've always prided myself on my financial independence, so whenever I could, I'd get out on the streets of Bath and I'd busk. I remember the very first time I did. I had my guitar in hand, I perched myself on a bench, took a deep breath, and then bared my soul to the jury of the street, and it was exhilarating. People sometimes ask me what music means to me, and it means life. This was usually the one time I felt like I didn't want to die. This was the one time I could feel a resemblance of something that resembled spirit, that resembled my soul, that resembled me. I even found myself cracking jokes with onlookers, which for someone dripping with social anxiety at the time was huge for me. It was March, roughly 3 months after Joe had died, and I was sitting on a bench in Bath with my guitar singing into a busy street. And this is when I would meet the first angel of this story. I'd see...
So he mentioned that in chapter 1, angel. Okay.
Into a busy street.
Basking.
And this is when I would meet the first angel of this story. I'd see 2 more angels years later. One in the guise of a homeless man, one a doctor cheating death in the Beverly Hills clinic. But that bit will come a little bit later. The angel was walking on the opposite side of the street with a mother. They both stopped to watch me for a moment. I saw her mum whisper something to her. The angel turned bright red and she giggled, and they shyly approached. We got talking and the angel asked where I was from. I told her that I grew up in Wales in a small village that was once described in a local newspaper as being worse than an Iraqi war scene. I told them they would have never heard of it. They looked surprised and they said they had family there. I asked which part, and it turned out to be the village that I grew up in.
Aww.
Since you can basically count a population of 2 intergenerationally bred mutated hands, I asked who they were, and it turned out that angel happened to be Joe's cousin.
The universe works in mysterious ways, right?
This encounter was always a foundational moment of serendipity in my life. In the years that followed, I took serendipitous occasions to mean I was in line with my purpose. Sometimes I felt like I'm following a script. It's just that I don't know the words or actions until they actually happen. But in moments of serendipity, I feel like they are playing out exactly as they were meant to. It was quite a bizarre moment for me, that hundreds of miles away by chance this angel would be related to my lost friend. Upon learning who I was, they invited me back to theirs for a cup of tea, and I accepted and I fell in love. It was really good tea. That week, the angel took me to a favourite botanical garden and she pointed out a favourite flower. So that night, true story, I dressed in black, broke in by climbing over the fence, dug up the flower and presented it to her the next day.
it's funny how he talks about like he's in a scene or whatever, and he's basically done something from a movie scene or something you would see in a movie. That's quite precious, and that's quite memorable as well.
Black, broke in by climbing over the fence, dug up the flower and presented it to her the next day. She called me insane, but it's safe to say that Angel ended up being my first serious girlfriend.
Aww.
It was a weird kind of relationship. We both shared an unusual trauma for people who were so young, brought together by a tragedy. Even though sometimes I feel like she might have hated me at the time, I was convinced like it was some sort of Shakespearean fate that had brought us together, a morbidity that birthed light, that it couldn't be anything else. It felt like divine intervention. She was pretty troubled in her own way, and I was very troubled in mine. But in between the sludge of dealing with the constant symptoms, it was beautiful. That summer, her parents took us to Centre Parks, which is a posher version of Butlins, if you don't know, where they paid for all the activities and meals, and they let me do whatever I wanted. Coming from a poorer family, I wasn't really used to being spoiled to that degree, but I figured I'd just roll with it. One morning while I was there, I got a call from my friend Sega, and he sounded pretty mixed up, so I asked him what was wrong. He told me that there was no easy way to say it, but one of my other best friends, Callum, had died. He'd gone cliff jumping in the same cliffs we used to jump off as kids. The sea was particularly choppy that day, and he caught a cross current and he started to drown. Another guy that he was with had jumped in an attempt to save him, and they both drowned. The first day I met Callum, I was 11. He was in the year above me in high school and used to walk around with these massive baggy bright orange jeans. He hung around with all the goth kids and I thought they looked super cool. So the next day I painted my nails black and fashioned a necklace out of a severed extension cable from an old VCR machine. I infiltrated the group and I gained their trust. Not long after, me and Callum were friends, wandering around beautiful Welsh countryside looking for the most scenic places to smoke weed. We stayed friends throughout high school and I truly loved him. When Callum died, I couldn't properly grieve. I felt weirdly numb after losing Joe. I'd often feel guilty for my inability to cry at the time. A couple of years later, I'd learned another friend of mine that I used to play function gigs with had thrown himself off a cliff face in Dover. And again, I felt numb.
Just so much tragedy. That's a really common feeling of feeling guilty because you can't cry. Even though you know you feel the sadness, but so many different things can intervene with that.
I couldn't tell if this new acceptance of the inevitability of death was a beautifully liberating thing, or if it was a sign that my humanity was slipping away. To this day, death has kind of remained a bit of a matter-of-fact part of my life. During my years of sickness, I had to crawl through a morbid longing to be killed by my illness to find a more peaceful acceptance that death is just an inevitable consequence of life and it doesn't spare anyone. That never left, and I haven't ever really been scared of dying since. Some days I've tempted it. What I'm more scared of is having to live my whole life as a sick person. In my relationship with death, the most healing moment occurred just 2 years ago. My grandmother, who I loved to pieces, was dying, but I actually got the chance to say goodbye this time, to hold her hand, to thank her for being alive. I remember not long before she passed, she was lying in the hospital bed, and she was very weak and very pale, barely able to open her eyes. I asked how she was, and it seemed like a stupid question as soon as it left my mouth. She paused for a long moment, and she turned her head to look at me, and she opened her eyes, and she smiled, and she said she felt happy. And it was just one word, happy, which was simple and it was beautifully profound. And that was one time I'd gotten a chance to say goodbye.
Oh. My nan passed away in, just before Christmas 2023. God, it feels like it was more recent than that. And she got dementia and went downhill pretty quickly. Like within a few months, it was nothing more, and it just felt like she slipped away very quick as well. Didn't know who I was, and that hurt, but I knew it wasn't her fault. And I remember that when she was dying, we went to see her a few times, and I got to hold her hand and tell her I loved her as well, and it just... all the other emotions, like, I'm feeling that is... it's a precious memory. And a couple of days before she passed, she wasn't eating at all, or very, like, ridiculously small amounts of anything. But she... one really precious memory I have of her is my aunt was drinking some wine, and she wanted some wine. She said, "I'll have some wine." And my aunt was like, "Will you? You won't eat anything. You want some wine now?" She said, "I can't really give you any." And she said, "No, I want some wine." Anyway, my aunt thought, you know what? We'll keep her happy. She had like a tiny drop of wine in a glass, and my nan had she would hold a vape, and use it. Didn't have anything in it, but she'd use it, pretend that she was smoking. But she would also use it as like a comforter when she was kind of going back, losing part of herself, or regressing, maybe, perhaps. She used it as a comforter, and so she had there's a picture of her, vape in one hand and a glass of wine in the other. And this is so my aunt said, are you happy now, Mum? And she said, yeah, I'm happy. And I think it's really good to share memories of those we've lost. Whenever someone loses someone, it's really hard to talk to them or reach out or anything. And one thing I always try and do is ask them what fond memories do they have. And as hard as it is, and as upsetting as it can be, sometimes you see people's faces light up with those memories, and it's really special to see. And it's just kind of gives them a few minutes of just remembering them in a nice way. And if anyone wants to share any memories of someone they've lost in the comments, happy memories, something that makes them smile, please go for it. Anyway, that's a beautiful moment that he had, and he's talking about his relationship with death. Let's come back to the story.
Simple, and it was beautifully profound. And that was one time I'd gotten a chance to say goodbye. And it was the first time that I hoped that one day I would die happy. The following year, I would achieve something beyond my wildest dreams, and then I would lose it almost as soon as it came. Stay tuned for that.
Is that it? No, is there another song?
I don't wanna hear no words today, because that pull me under. In the castle of my room, I'll hide away from the outside thunder.
Hang on. Let's listen to that again, because I can't quite make out.
I don't wanna hear no words today, because that pull me under. In the castle of my room, I'll hide away from the outside thunder. Gonna lock my troubles outside of this door, 'cause today it's just me in these four walls. I said I wanna run away, fly to another place, fly to another place. Say oh. Said I wanna run away, fly to another place, fly to another place. The light that I hold, it turns to grey, and that makes me wonder, will I always feel this way? So far under, but I put my soul on show for everyone to see. 'Cause even though it's bruised, I know it holds such beauty.
That was a really nice note there. It's the fact that he's just grateful to be alive. Going through a dark time, but there's something beautiful about
My
life.
soul on show for everyone to see. Cause even though it's bruised, I know it holds such beauty. I said I wanna run away, fly to another place, fly to another place, say oh. I said I wanna run away, fly to another place, fly to another place. Nobody here but me today, but that makes me stronger. Cause I wash away the pain under sheets of feather. Gonna lock my troubles outside of this door. Cause today it's just me and these four walls. I said I wanna run away, fly to another place, fly to another place, say oh. I said I wanna run away, fly to another place, fly to another place, say oh. I said I wanna run away, fly to another place, fly to another place, say oh. I said I wanna run away, fly to another place, fly to another place. I crave relief in solitude. I search for peace, but pain pursues. Please something, just free me, give me some truth. My head is a prison, I need to move. I said I wanna run away, fly to another place, fly to another place, say oh.
I love that. I love that. It's got such a hopeful beat. I love how it stops and drums. It's fun seeing younger side of Ren as well.
I said I wanna run away, fly to another place, fly to another place, say oh. I said I wanna run away, fly to another place, fly to another place. I said I wanna run away, fly to another place, fly to another place, say oh. I said I wanna run away, fly to another place, fly to another place. I said I wanna run, I said I wanna run, I said I wanna run, hey oh. I said I wanna run, I said I wanna run, I said I wanna run, hey oh. I said I wanna run away, fly to another place, fly to another place, hey oh. I said I wanna run away, fly to another place, fly to another place.
Oh, that was so catchy, that one. That was so catchy, but yeah, it's clearly like you're trapped in this body. You're not feeling great about it. You don't want to be here, but also there is still beauty. There is still good. There are still ways to feel like you can take on the world. I like the sound of that. It almost sounded like it wasn't quite a reggae sound in the verses, but a little bit. I don't know. It had a fun sound to it. God, they make you think, don't they? And that's good. That's good. When you mentioned the tea earlier, I was thinking, at the end I'll ask you all about, I'll ask you how you take your tea, but now I've asked about sharing memories of those you've lost. Maybe I'll give you two options. Maybe some of you won't feel comfortable or ready to share your stories or your grief journeys. So I don't want anyone to feel pressured that they have to do that. Tell me how you take your tea. Do you even like tea? And I'm going to go think about my nan a little bit, I think. I've been thinking about her a lot recently as well, which is... It's strange how Ren... A lot of people say Ren comes in to your life when you most need it. Need him. And he's an angel for many of us, right? That's really special. Divine interventions and all of that. Anyway, I will see you for chapter 3 soon, but I'm absolutely not going to watch any more today. That's for sure. And I'll watch some of the more happier stuff. I know I need to watch the Basking with the big push. So we'll see how we go. But yeah, thank you for watching. 35 minutes, I'm sorry. Bye.